Hello, Jim Howard here in Fort Worth, Texas. Today's date, it is April 6th of 2024, and it's almost 6 a.m. in the morning. You can see down, well, you can see down below on the bottom taskbar. I guess I shouldn't have to tell you. I need to do some things like I did with Manicam, but that's down the road a piece, I guess. I have to take little baby steps. One thing I'm looking for two of my other USB cameras, and I put them someplace in this room, unless my son decided to do something with it, my grown son, without telling me. I think I'll find them here in this room because I have a lot of junk in this room. I mean, giant containers filled with stuff. And I probably put them someplace. Well, there's a pile of papers down here. They might be under that. But anyway, I want to try to come up with an additional camera or two, as long as it doesn't mess things up. I still have to wear these. Well, I'm going to have to wear these for close-up like this, I guess, from now on. On the 22nd of this month, and it's the 6th of this month, I think I'll be done with the eye doctors. They've already done the 2 glaucoma. That sounds like something you put on. No, that's right, it is. The 2 cataract surgeries. I thought I had glaucoma surgeries. Cataract surgeries I've had. Now my vision, which when I was finally told, surprised the hell out of me. By the way, I had to pay $200 for each operation. The insurance company paid, I think it's about $14,000 for each operation. Yeah, my nose has been running, and I've been finding little pieces of toilet paper falling off of me. Anyway, someplace here are 2 additional USB cameras. I'm not sure how well they'll all 3 work together. I mean, I've used at least 2 before in the past, a lot, but I'm not sure. Not sure how this will go. What I would like to do is I'd like to get a new computer, but that's not going to happen. But I'd like to fix one of these mini little computers that I managed to break all 3 of them. But I'd like to get it working so I could use it just as an email handler. And then I could go to, I've already paid for and downloaded Zorin, the latest version, and I looked at it, online before. I'd used it before. I mean, not the updated version, but I'd used it before. Anyway, I downloaded it, and so it's ready to be installed. It actually was installed. Then when anyway, I need to reinstall it, but I don't want to do that because when I installed it the way I did, and I formatted Windows, although Windows back, because I had a backup of it, total backup. But what I want to do is just have me, because I really liked the looks of, I went to sites and I looked at the new Zoran, and was it Zoran? Don't even remember. Anyway, um, so, but because I really, really liked the way it, I watched several YouTube videos of it, and the things that were doing were, the way it was doing things were just exactly what I want and how I need it. And I want to get to it, but I I do need a backup, and my cell phone, fuck the cell phones. I mean, I have to, you have to use it, right? You have to have a cell phone. But I don't like the cell phone. The cell phones stink. I don't like the car. It's on a small screen. My vision, well, my vision is 100% now for distance and all that kind of stuff, but for up close, I have to have these for, doing the screen. Otherwise, and these glasses are, I think I got 6 pair for at a actually, I don't think it was a dollar store. I think it was a Walgreens store, I think. But I got like 6 pair of these for, I don't know, $10 or $15. And a whole bunch of people tell me, well, you shouldn't have paid more than, a couple of dollars for them. And I know that's true. But the way Walgreens had theirs hanging on the rack, I don't think you could get them off, I think. Was that the problem? But also the way that they were tied or something. So I just went ahead and got them. We ordered Chinese. We've been doing that a few times now. We've started doing that. It's sort of like a regular. There's a Chinese restaurant a few blocks from us, and they deliver. And, I tip them $5, and it's $20 worth of the Chinese food. You have to order early in the day. Later on, the prices really go up. But I eat a little bit of the chicken, and Darlene eats a little bit of it, and my son eats a couple of the, whatever those are, forget the name of them, and some fried rice. I get some of the fried rice also. Anyway, it's a little, little meal for us, and doesn't cost very much. But we may do that once a week, or maybe, maybe we'll do it 3 times a month or something. I'm not sure. I wish I could find the other, I'd like to get one of the other cameras going. As you know, if you've been watching, I've moved my equipment around. And right now I've got to, I also hate my printer. It sounds like I hate everything and everybody, doesn't it? Yeah, you're correct, I do. Anyway, I've got to hook the printer up again. I'd like to get a new printer. When I worked at CompUSA in Florida, I was the only one who was pricing items. By that I mean the way they did it at CompUSA was there wasn't a price tag on each box or anything that you bought. It was down below the product. And so I was the only one doing that, printing it off there. It was one that uses toner, and it wasn't, fairly inexpensive. It was an inexpensive one. In fact, I bought one when I moved here. I don't know what happened to it. It may be in my son's closet. I can't even get into his room. It's a biohazard area for one thing. And the closet is just, there's just stuff I would have to dig through to find the printer, and I doubt the printer would work after it's been in that room. So I forget I remembered it, but now I can't remember the number of it. But it printed for days. And I'm talking about, maybe going in and just doing it every day. I left a little bit early. It was the boss just left it up to me. He was a really nice guy. And what was neat about him, well, from my point of view, like one thing they had, I don't know if all the CompUSA stores had that or not, maybe not, but he had, I don't know, 15 or 20 guys who were salesmen who went out and went to businesses and sold them computer equipment. And the guys who, for the warehouse people, there must have been 15 or 20 of those, maybe 15, because my grandson ended up being in charge. He got hired in there, and he was very quickly, and I think that's the first job he ever had in his life. He was very, very soon, he was in charge of the people in that department, the receiving dock, the dock, and putting the items out, in the morning or whatever. They did that, and I was pricing everything. But anyway, the manager, I was, I just went in, and like the guys who were putting this stuff on the shelves, several of them would grab a office chair with wheels on it, and they'd be doing it, and I was down on my hands, I didn't sit in a chair and do that. I was down on my hands and knees and, putting the labels on. And the guys who were the business people, going to the businesses or whatever, that was like a department there. And I heard the general manager of the place or whatever. I heard, and I'm sure he knew I heard him, but he was over there. He says, see that old man? I don't know if he actually said old man, or you see that guy over there? He comes in here every day and he goes to work, and he works, he works nonstop or whatever. And you guys, are, making more money than he is, and you're going out and whatever, and you're not producing, and blah, blah, blah. Stuff like that. And I thought, wow. And then I heard him do the same thing with, he really knew how to do things, which is, I'm sure he turned out okay because he was a really good manager. Now, see, we live, my grandson and I, and my other son, grandson and son, we were, 2 blocks if you came. It really wasn't 2 blocks. We lived on the one side of the mall, in a, rental area there. And so I just had to walk out of the apartment, go over a little tiny bridge over the canal that went through there, and then I was in the mall, and that's where I worked security for about a year or so, until I went over, which was across the street then, from, and got the job of putting and I loved that. One thing was, a lot of these businesses, like the bank, they've kind of cut back on it. I fucking hate that. I hate it when all businesses do that, Well, I haven't heard them still doing it. I think they're still doing it. Um, Walmart. No, not Walmart. Walgreens. I think that's it. And when you come in the door there, welcome to, and that's the thing that you, at, where did I work? CompUSA. If you came within a few feet of somebody, you had to, welcome to, what did I say? Welcome to CompUSA. What can I help you with, sir? Or, whatever. And then, if, when they were leaving, you had to say, thanks, come again, blah, blah, blah. I got. And I was the only one, really, that they all had to wear uniforms. Of course, the guys in the business area were wearing suits, that were going out. But, I was instructed by the, the general manager or whatever there. No, you don't wear, no name tag for you, and I want you just, pricing things. I don't want you having to be stopped, by an employee to do that stuff. So that was pretty neat. What was kind of funny, they had a commercial made, a TV commercial made, and so everybody, a whole bunch of people, so the film crew, turned up, to do that commercial, and the general manager, told all the people who were bringing the stuff out, and all the people, go back in to the warehouse and stay there and don't make any noise, and then told some other people, leave, whatever. And so I was the only one out there that he didn't, no, you're fine. I didn't ask him or anything. I just was doing it. You're fine. And then, yeah. So I was out there, scanning all these things, putting them on, putting the things on there. And with my hearing, I couldn't hear the thing. I didn't know that thing was beeping, And then finally, I thought I saw the, the audio man or whatever. There's a sound coming from here, and they were looking around. A sound coming from here or whatever. Then the general manager figured it out. He came back and said, "Oh, Jim, going back with the rest of the guys, But yeah, there's a bunch of. Well, I have hearing loss, and I've had it. I've had hearing loss since I was. I should be I should be. Let's see. I should. Anyway, I had hearing loss that was discovered in second grade, and it didn't get any better over the years. And my parents never. I'm not blaming them or anything. My parents never. I brought the thing home. In fact, I flunked the second grade, and I flunked more than the second grade. The Catholic school that I went to, the 6th and 7th grade, I think, were combined. They were allowed to get by with that because the Catholic schools, didn't get any tax money for school, and also, they couldn't afford to have junior high and that kind of, so the 7th grade, I think it was. So we, in the 6th grade, it was like 6th and 7th grade combined. But anyway, I flunked that. I flunked the 2nd grade, and I flunked the 6th and 7th grade combined. And I was the only one from the school that I know. I didn't see anybody else going to summer school. Let's see. Let me put something up else on the screen in case you're tired of and I'll get this figured out better on later on. Um, so 6th and 7th grade combined. Okay. So when it was time for everybody graduated except except me, and well, I mean I graduated. Well, I had to go to summer school, and so I was sent to summer school. And then when I got there, I didn't know why I was going to summer school. I mean, I know I wasn't too bright, but I didn't know why I was going to summer school. Went there, and then so I went to Catholic high school, and it was a class. I flunked because I couldn't spell, and the other kids that were there who were not from my grade school were there also because they couldn't spell. And of course, I couldn't spell because of my hearing loss that I knew about and my parents knew about, and nobody else knew about. Or I'm not sure if it had done any good for me to speak. Anyway, the nun, elderly nun that was in charge, you are all here because you cannot spell. And the reason you can't spell is because, you're not reading. If you read, if you read, you can spell. And then I was sitting there thinking, it's not right, sister. Of course, I didn't say anything because I was ordering it. There was a place called the Government Printing Office. I've never heard of it, but I mean, I'm sure it still exists. I guess I should do that. I mean, I was buying tons of stuff. Let's see. I was buying military manuals and everything. There it is. I bought a lot of stuff from them. And I read it. Survival manuals for the military, on Arctic survival, tropical survival. I mean, all this kind of stuff. And I was reading all that stuff. And I was, let's see, I was in, I was tracking Earth satellites that went up, starting with Sputnik 1. I was putting out a publication monthly for years for shortwave listeners. And I was doing all this kind of stuff when I went, or shortly after I went to where this nun was. And anyway, the one thing they did was they tested, or she tested, to see. And what I thought about saying, which would not have been a good idea, I was thinking about saying, sister, I bet my reading level is higher than yours, but I knew better than to say that. But I'm sure it was probably correct. Maybe not, but I bet it was. Anyway, so the reason that I couldn't spell, one time more than once, our class, or different classes, we would, the nuns would arrange for us to walk over. We didn't have school buses. I'm not that old. They existed, but I went to a military high school, 500 students there. We had M1s. Each one of us had an M1, but the school did not have a school bus. Now, there's 2 or 3 times that they did rent a school bus. They didn't for the ROTC circus, all the ROTC units. Now, we were the only one that was a military academy. And the way it worked, apparently, was, you were called a military academy if the U.S. government, we were a 55C school. If you had military, like we had a colonel and a sergeant, retired, or I'm not sure exactly what their classification was. Well, one of them definitely had to be retired because, in fact, 2 of them, that was strange. We had, while I was the 4 years that we were there, we had 2 colonels, one at a time, And both of them had been in the Bataan Death March, and their vision was, especially one guy, he had a magnifying glass like the colonel had, this big to read. But you were classified as a 55C school because that was in the government manual, the whatever, If you looked that up, then it would be, you were a academy. And why did I get on that subject? Don't remember. There must have been a reason. Oh, anyway, we had an M1. We didn't have a school bus. Oh, that's why, yeah. So, okay, so I went to summer school for the military academy all 4 years. I had straight A's in military. Straight A's. Also, you got a demerit, like West Point and I guess other places, and I don't know, the Naval Academy or something, like West Point, where, you get a demerit if you have a button unbuttoned or your shoes are not shined or whatever. I never got a demerit in 4 years, But I got straight A's in military, but all 4 years I had to go to summer school. And I did not graduate. Well, I could. I had to go from my senior year to summer school. So I could go, but I didn't. I didn't care. Fuck them, But I could go to the graduation at the municipal auditorium, and I would receive a envelope or whatever, but it would be a blank piece of paper or something. And then after I finished summer school, they sent me my diploma. But that was a mistake on my part, by the way. I had an older cousin, quite a bit older, and he went into the military. He was a drinker. He was a drinker in the military, and he made it through, 20 years plus or whatever it was. He was a big-time drinker. And he married a woman who had a bunch of kids, and then he had a bunch of kids. And just before he retired, he was all that time too. He was in the military police. First, he went to military police, and then he was sent to Germany for the occupation, and then he ended up going to Korea for the occupation. Well, we didn't occupy South, but you know what I mean. He was there for that, which went before, when there wasn't a war going on. But anyway, Billy Hall was his name. That's the reason, he would come back and everything. And he was a drinker, and my parents were drinkers, and they would get together and whatever. But I wanted to be, that's the reason I wanted to go in the military, I'm sure. I'm supposed to be putting drops in my eyes, and man, they've been having me do it in fact, I have to do it until today's the 6th. I have to do that till the 22nd. Supposed to do it 4 or 5 times a day. I haven't been doing it in each eye. I haven't been doing it 4 or 5 times. I did in the very beginning, but to have a hell of a time getting the drops in my left eye. Anyway, so I went to military school. I went to, Dale Sound Military Academy because I need to shave. I went because I wanted to go in the military. And what I totally forgot about was my hearing. I just totally forgot about it. Although, okay, anyway, so after graduating from high school, I went down right away to I gave up several things that I was doing, putting out several publications, doing a radio program that was broadcast around the world and all this kind of stuff. And I, turned those over to somebody else, and went down to enlist and went in, and the recruiter and everything, great, and he said, okay. And I didn't realize at that time, until quite a bit later on, and I found that out by reading some stuff on the internet. I didn't know when they said that there's a contract between you and the recruiter, and you're making a deal. And I knew that, like I heard, it didn't matter to me, but there was a thing where you could go in with your friends, and you could, provided everybody did okay. I mean, if you went in and you signed up for something, and then some of them couldn't do it, or they failed, or whatever. But yeah, they had a thing where you could go in with your buddies. This was like Vietnam War time, so probably a good thing I didn't get in. But and there were other things like that, and two, they would make a deal with you about, but of course which was a mistake. I'm sure. I wanted to be in like the 101st Airborne or something like that, and because I watched a lot of movies or something, and I think I don't know how many people go in the military and decide they want to be airborne or something like that, and then of course they send them through. You jump off a little step, and then you jump off of a little area, and they work up to it, whatever. But I don't think that would have worked with me. So, good thing I didn't get in. But anyway, I went there, and the recruiter said, okay, well, the only thing we've got is teletype repair. And I said, that's the only thing? He said, yeah, teletype repair, because that's what they needed right then. And I said, well, okay, started filling stuff out. And then they started asking about my medical, hey, do you have this? No, nothing at all. And they didn't ask about hearing. I'm not sure what I wouldn't have lied. I mean, because I knew enough to know that when I got to basic training that they would be checking everything, But so I said, the only thing is I'm just a little bit underweight. And he says, you definitely are underweight a lot. What do you weigh? And I told him, And I'm not going to tell you because it's embarrassing how much I weighed. Not a lot. Well, a few years later, I got a notice, the selective service, you had to have a card which you had to carry with you at all times. Except some anti-war people guys were burning their cards, And the women didn't get a card, but they were burning their bras. But anyway, so he said, sorry, can't take you. And 2 or 3 years later, I got a noticed report for the selective service physical. So I went there. There were 200 of us. I've told this story before, by the way, many times. Sorry. Yeah, listen to it again or watch it. So 200 of us. I know there was 200 because we were all told to get naked, totally naked. And somebody took a magic marker and wrote 1 to 200 on our chest. And of course, then right away, the doctor came over. I saw somebody coming through the crowd to get to me. He comes over and he says, and I knew he was a doctor. Have you been sick? No. Have you been in the hospital? No. You're not sick and you don't have any medical problems? No. Okay, and he went around, And then, of course, then he started going down like the line. And big husky guys, they played football or whatever. Bad knee, bad knee, bad knee. And then, too, when they were going through to get their blood drawn or whatever blood drawn, they were like, oh, I'm going to faint, and not me. But, I did know about my hearing at that point for some reason, somehow, because they had somebody like behind a door. And then when you went up to the door, somebody said a number, like 6, or something like that. And then I was thinking, oh shit, I gotta listen, which was kind of dumb of me. Then I should have known, But I heard it, okay. Oh, okay. So there was 200 of us. Okay, you had to urinate, also, by the way. So 200 of us. At noon, the thing was over. Of course, they had to stay there and do paperwork and do that kind of stuff. However, 200 people, well, it wasn't 200 that left, 199 left. I couldn't piss. And so I was there till about closing time, 3 or 4 o'clock, and I kept telling him, can I go across to Union Station and get a Coke? No, no. So anyway, about 4 o'clock or whatever, I said, can I go and come back? So I went. And then I'm not sure at that point if well, of course, I thought, okay, so I weighed the same thing. I don't want to tell you how much it was. It's embarrassing to weigh so little and be a man, He weighed 115 pounds. So then I got a card, 1A. That means they're going to take you. you're going to Vietnam. So I went down, went in there, and they had me look at a little pamphlet that had parts of cars on it, I think, or not cars, but different things, And then they wanted you, I guess, to know all of them, And I don't know what that is. He didn't say you're not a man, but it was like a carburetor or something on a car. He says, think underneath the hood of a car. Oh, he says, yeah, okay, so that's okay, And I said, I'm a little bit pissed, I wanted to make a career of the military, and I was down here, when I was 18, and you guys rejected me because I was underweight. And he said, when I first went in there, too, he says, I went in, he says, you're on my list. Anybody that's 1A, you're on my list. I'd have been contacting you, but okay, come on in, Jim, And so then he says, yeah, you're definitely underweight. And he says, just a second. And then he called over to the medical center. And they checked, let's see, height, weight. Oh, shit. Yeah, we made a mistake. We'll send him a new card. And it was 1Y. And that means that they would take you only in the event of national emergency. And because of the Trump situation here in the last few years or whatever, there was a whole bunch of information about Donald Trump. And now I wasn't proud that it was 1, but I didn't want to be listed like 4F, you know what I mean? Like and so I was kind of like, well, I'm not 4F, telling myself, nobody else. I was thinking, well, I'm not 4F, And anyway, I saw where Donald Trump was 4F. And then they said, in the news, on the news or whatever, when they were doing these things about, hey, all these different doctors, psychiatrists and people were like, okay, well, I haven't actually physically examined him, but, I'm a PhD at Harvard or something like that. And, or not a PhD, but, MD, I guess a PhD with an MD or something, But, and the guys write a book or something. But he's definitely mentally ill, stuff like that. And then that's true where they mentioned, well, on such and such a date, everybody who was 1Y, their thing was changed to 4F. And I thought, oh, shit. Not that it mattered, not that anybody knew or never ever saw the card, but now when I couldn't get in the military, I had been, when I was in high school, I'd been hired a couple of times at Christmas time to work at the post office. It was temporary, and because they needed to get out. When I'm talking post office, I'm talking about the distribution centers, When they hired me in, they hired in 200, and I was number 200 on the list, And then 2 weeks later, they hired in another 200, And 2 weeks later, they hired in another 200, and 2 weeks later, they hired in another 200, and I quit. They couldn't believe it. I said, I'm quitting, and they were correct. Really, they said, this is a career civil service appointment. You do not want to quit this. Be smart, guy. Hey, But when I couldn't get into the military, my dad paid for me to go to real estate school. I graduated from real estate school, Weaver School of Real Estate. And then I told my dad, I do not want to, I could pass the test, state test, because I knew that, and we knew that because in order to graduate from the Weaver School of Real Estate, they gave you not the test that you'd be taking when you got to Jefferson City, but a test exactly like it with the same, and you'd have to do the closing and all that kind of stuff. So I knew I could pass it. It wasn't that. I just didn't want to do it. And so then my dad, he was a welder all his life. Well, in the beginning of life, he was driving a bread wagon or something like that with horses that pulled it, and a horse that pulled it. And then there was he told me, I wasn't alive, I wasn't even born, there'd be a dog halfway through his route that would come up and jump up and ride with him, and then at the end of the route, the dog would go back home. But anyway, I went to welding school, and man, that was it. I came back, got the job immediately, worked for years as a welder, different, union, United Auto Workers. I worked for years building dart trucks. Those are the trucks that are, bigger than this apartment room, bigger than this apartment. We had to fucking build them. Then I worked in the body shop, and we had to take them apart so they could be sent to South Africa. And then some of our people, I didn't have enough seniority, but went to South Africa and went down in the caves and reassembled the trucks that we had built, But, so, for me and for my dad, being a welder, but of course then I changed, things changed. For the post office, of course, when Kennedy got elected, I voted for Kennedy by absentee ballot in Cleveland, Ohio. That's where the Lincoln Electric welding company was, and that's where their school was too. But these two friends of mine that went to De La Salle Military Academy with identical twins, so we went together to take the exam for the post office. And it was because of my problem that I have. Well, that's another problem that I have. I've talked about that. I can't pull up any kind of an image, You might try. I've mentioned this before. You might not know this. A lot of people don't know this. In fact, my grown daughter did not know this. And we, had 4 kids. My oldest daughter, really smart. I can say that because she didn't get it from me, But she didn't know about it till I told her. And I should put the link. If I can remember it, I'll put the link. She's doing TikTok stuff. And, it's below someplace, down at on my front page, down at the bottom, there's a thing I think that says, TikTok, my daughter, check it out. Okay, but I'll find the link because I told her about it, and then she went and found additional information. Anyway, a lot of people, not a lot, well, a certain number of people have the thing, and you can check yourself just by, close your eyes and try to picture, your car, a flower, your dog, or just try to picture something in. And now it varies. I have it 100%. I see nothing. I close my eyes. I can't pull up any kind of an image at all. By the way, that's a disability. I mean, it's not a disability where you can collect money or anything, but it is difficult, especially if you're a police officer or especially if you're a security officer. That's something that you have to be thinking about all the time. Uh, you know. And my daughter has that 100% also. Sees nothing. And now her husband, who has now education doesn't matter. I mean, you either have this or you don't. And there's a name for it. I forget the name of it. But anyway, it's a problem. Now, some people have, it's not like you don't see anything or you see everything. It's, so you may be in that area someplace. You may be one of the people. I'll put a link if I can find I put the link before. I'll put the link here eventually again or something. So, and I have a book here someplace, but I can't. I think I gave it to somebody. I think I sent it to my daughter, maybe. But now her husband, he has a master's. And I always get this, let's see. Philosophy, I think it is. Is it philosophy? Anyway, I was out there for 2 weeks. Because I'd never seen Washington, D.C. I've never been on the, East Coast up. I've been down to Florida, and Georgia. I spent a summer in Barnwell, South Carolina, when my father was working at the H-bomb plant. But I wanted to see Washington, D.C. because I've followed politics since I was in grade school. I skipped school to to watch the such and such hearings on TV and stuff like that. But I wanted to see Washington, D.C. And I followed the news and I wanted to see, and so I did. There's some videos of me being in Washington, D.C. They're not great. I think there's like 6 or 7 of them. But you might want to watch them. How did I get sidetracked on this, and how long have I been talking? Okay, this looks like it's going to be like an hour video. Good grief. Okay, let's hang on a second. You know what we can do? We can go to YouTube / there we go. And let's see, here we go. Okay, now let's go do a search for Washington, D.C. Washington. Let's see. Well, no, they're showing, they're not showing my video. Okay. They're showing other people's videos, so, okay, I must have a, let me go back here. Okay, let's go down here to YouTube videos. Let's see, podcast playlist. Here we go. Go to playlist. Okay. Okay, wait a minute here. How come it's not showing as a list? Here it is. View full playlist. Okay. Jim's Vacation, Dallas National Air and Space Museum visit. That was pretty neat, by the way. Washington, D.C.'s science fiction version. Mr. Howard Goes to Washington. Jim Howard in Washington, D.C., video by LaDonna Howard. Ride the longest escalator in the Western Hemisphere. A few views of my 3-hour walk in Washington, D.C. A patio video from Jim Howard in Washington, D.C. This is where Ben's Chili Bowl is a place that's famous in Washington, D.C. I think when a person, I don't know about Donald Trump, but a real president or whatever makes it a point to go to Ben's Chili Bowl sometime, and so forth and so on. Well, let's show a little bit. It's not going to, let's see, let's do, okay, it's only 3 minutes. You want to see it? Okay. Space shuttle. And radio.
That's what something to do. Go make that new stuff. We have made.
Which one? All right.
If you want to walk around. There we go. My daughter made these videos. Anyway, that's enough of that. I'll try to remember to put the links below. If you find something interesting, let me, you can always say, hey, Jim, here's a good link, But I will, you want to check out my, I'll find that link for you where my daughter talks about the problem of not being able to visualize something. I was lucky. I worked usually 2 jobs, and I was, I tried to get in. I wanted to get into the Peace Corps, by the way, and I didn't realize really about my hearing loss. That would have been a problem, and also the hearing loss that I have had all my life is so bad. I wanted to learn Spanish, and being interested in shortwave radio and DXing and all those kind of things made it difficult for that. But I didn't. I would have had a hell of a time learning. I tried over the years. I even tried Russian, which, what do they call their language? That was stupid of me, trying to, because of their alphabet's not the way our alphabet is. That just goes to show you, they're not too smart. Just kidding, just kidding. Anyway, what else? I think that's it. I may not find the things immediately to put on my main page, but I definitely will find that, because some of you are going to have, you're going to find you have the thing, and you probably do not know about it, where you cannot visualize something. A large number of, the video that I've made, by the way, in the past about that is that I thought that in school, at some point, they should find out whether, a kid in school does not have the ability to. And then, of course, I talked about then in that video. But then on the other hand, they would be sort of discriminated against, and maybe they could go on to be, I don't know, a space astronaut. I doubt it. There are a bunch of things I think that would, But on the other hand, if they gave that test to the kids in school at some point, at their appropriate time, that they might end up being, they could have gone on to be, somebody who, accomplishes something, but they would be probably blocked from being an astronaut or, a pilot and all kinds of things. And they probably should, if you have that, Anyway, thank you very much for watching. Leave a comment. Do something. Thank you very much.